Paul Nuttall, he's actually been speaking about it in Parliament today. Hiya, Paul. Thanks for making the time to be with us. Nice to see you. How much of a blow is it now that Turkey did what it did yesterday to forming a broad coalition that are all in agreement, you'd think, to be clamping down on ISIS, you'd hope?
Well, we've got to sort this problem out, and as Winston Churchill once said, Georgia is always preferable to war. We need to sit round the table and we need to decide who the real enemy is here, and I believe that the enemy and the threat that we face in the 21st century doesn't come from Russia, it doesn't come from anybody else, it comes primarily from Islamic fundamentalism, and we need to cut this cancer out of our world, and we're only going to do that if we get together, and I'm talking about the Western powers, I'm talking about India, China and indeed Russia, and we all form a global coalition and we go for Islamic State because they are the threat to our children.
Why doesn't it seem that, if you look at certainly the actions of the last 24 hours, Turkey seems to be on board here as much as you'd think it was on the face value? I mean, basically, it's shot out of the sky without any jaw, a Russian plane that was fighting ISIL at the time.
Well, this seems a mad situation, doesn't it? And we've got to ask the question, you know, whose side is Turkey on? There is evidence that Ankara is purchasing oil off ISIS. If you remember, the Turkish did absolutely nothing in the siege of Kobani. It seems as if Turkey is more worried about the threat of the Kurdish population than it is about Islamic State. And of course, this then throws up the issue of Turkey wanting to join the European Union. That's something that I am absolutely opposed to, primarily because only 3% of Turkey is actually in Europe. And beyond that, and Turkey is a country which borders with Iran, Iraq and Syria, places which harbour terrorists. So
have the events, do you think? It's interesting. Have the events of the last 24 hours knocked those prospects back? And we just heard an MEP from Italy saying that it had demolished the prospect. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Well, I hope it's demolished the prospect. Turkey has no place within the European Union, and Turkey is going to have to make a decision, or President Erdogan is going to have to make a decision. Whose side are they on? Because at the moment, they seem to be wanting to dip their toe in both baths and say, yes, we want to be part of a global coalition, we want to be part of NATO, but equally it seems as if Turkey, in an underhand manner, is supporting ISIS.
Let's get back to the fight at hand, the fight against ISIS. France has come on board with Russia. Is it about time that Britain came on board now as well?
Absolutely, because Russia is not a threat to global peace in the 21st century. You know, and we must understand that geopolitics and foreign policy isn't a case of black and white, it's a case of grey areas, and sometimes we have to realise that, you know, my enemy's enemy is my friend, and in this case, Vladimir Putin and Russia is not our enemy. Our enemy, the real enemy in the 21st century, is Islamic State.
Well, as I say, you were speaking about this earlier on. What is your view on it? That it basically has to be a kind of a grand coalition, everyone working together. It can't be done independently. It can't be won independently, this battle, no?
Yes, of course. I mean, we've got to bring on the big powers across the globe, and indeed some Muslim nations. We've also got to take a decision on Saudi Arabia, because part of the problems that we face in Europe today with homegrown jihadis is as a result of Saudi Arabia sponsoring Wahhabism within our communities, and we must take a stand against Saudi Arabia as well, because let's not forget, these guys are the main funders of terrorism across the globe. So, as I say, we need a grand coalition, but we also need the end game. You know, we can't just go in there and bomb willy-nilly. We also must decide whether Bashar al-Assad is a real threat to the globe in the 21st century too. I do not believe he is, and I believe Bashar al-Assad is the lesser of the evil in Syria.
Paul, thank you for your thoughts. Paul Nuttall, the UKIP Deputy Leader. Pleasure to be in the programme.
Thank you.